Hi everyone, it's Evelyn. Take a deep breath. Okay, you're in for a ride today. Today is the 19th, August 19, 2020, and I just posted my Tetragrammaton video. It's just a 5-minute video, or 6 minutes, to preface this because the information I got from that yesterday was a segue to what came up today, and boy, did stuff keep coming up. Usually I do some research on one or two things, but today they kept having me go back and back and back, like with, long-term research things today. So pretty intense, but very, very cool what came up today in regards to that. But watch the 5-minute Tetragrammaton video, because it's important for you to understand the symbolism in order to go into this. So the 19 of today is the sun, and the day adds up to 31, 4. 31 is the 5 of wands, which is expansion, conflict, but also games and the pursuit of happiness, or the quest. So so it's a 4 and a 5, so 31 is a 4 of stability and building and structure, but it's also the 5 of wands of expansion at the same time. And then the sun, of course, exposes everything with the 19. So we have conflict exposed today, as well as games and fun. And the SIRIAN STARSEED deck was cut and dealt at 10:01 this morning. 10 is the Wheel of Fortune, and 01 is the reflection of that, the Magician. And just like the reflection of the Tetragrammaton from the encyclopedia that I posted on my video. At 10:14, 14 being the Temperance card, the Knight of Cups dropped as I was shuffling the Universal Golden Tarot. And this is a 7-deck read for those of you not familiar with me. If something doesn't resonate with you, don't force it to fit, and it is for the Divine Masculine Twin Flames, but that also affects the masculine within the feminines. So as the Knight of Cups dropped out as I was shuffling, 10:14 was coming up as a significant date, so October's coming up soon. And then at 10:15, which is the Wheel of Fortune, or a turn for the better, and then 15, which is the devil or the shadow side, I was getting ease on down the road. All right, so this date may be significant, since then I was getting the message to ease on down the road. Take it easy till then. All right, there's the Knight of Cups is coming. So then as I was covering the cards with my clarifying cards, I was going over the Emperor, which is called Reason in the SIRIAN STARSEED deck, which is the main deck for the read. And it's also, Reason is also Ray and Sun, and it came up as the ease on down the road, okay? And then DE also came up, which can be for Delaware, but it can be other things as well. It could be someone's nickname D. And then that came up next to Pride. So that can reference children as well. So again, ease on down the road. Don't you carry nothing that might be a load. Come on, ease on down the road. So 10:18, and then it came up again. So it came up twice, ease on down the road. And then at 10:24, 24 being the Queen of Wands, well, I'll get into that when I get into the read, because it had to do with the way the cards went down. And then 10:28 was another time that came up, but then again, 10 is the Wheel of Fortune, 28 is the Two of Wands, or the Twin Flames. So I'd gotten a scam call at that time, but I was putting it down. It came in right as I was putting certain cards down, the Knight of Wands and the Four of Wands and the Justice card reversed and the Lovers card reversed. So that was significant. But the Knight of Wands is a little bugger again. The Knight of Wands is reversed again in this read. The Queen of Wands. Oh, a lot of when my reads, sometimes when I'm clarifying the reads, if there's a person on the read, on the big card, the little cards will clarify like who the person is. It's kind of funny sometimes, actually. So I finished clarifying the read at 10:33, which is 33 is the Christ vibration, also the 7 of Wands, standing up for yourself, taking the high ground. And the major arcana for this read were Ascension, which is like the world, Star, and Reason, which is the Emperor. We also had guidance that came up before the read, because I always pull a few cards on either side of the read. And then we had 4 pentacles, 2 swords, 1 wand, and 1 cup. So a lot of pentacles here, which has to do with money, but not only that, it has to do with the practical things of everyday living, you know, time, money, effort, school, all that kind of stuff. So mostly that energy was coming up today. And then we had the Queen of Pentacles, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Swords in the main part of the read. And then after the read, well, before the read, the Page of Wands came up, and after the read, the King of Wands came up, which is the shaman energy. The code line for me was all about pride today. And the numbers that came up, we had triple tens again and double nines, so it's very much about the end of the cycle. Double fours came up like the double nines, so but the triple tens was the major number there. And the code line was all about the number 10 as well, which is high vibrations, really high vibrations, keeping it high. And the other numbers that came up were 1421, which is the Temperance card in the world. 4211 is the Two of Cups and Justice. The 44 is the Four of Cups, the mastering, grounding, and integrating of love. 99 is all about compassion and ending. The number 1 of the Magician, 4 of the Emperor, 9, 10, begin again. Again, 14 and 49 is the 9 of Cups, the Get Your Wish card. And in a lesser sense, the number 12 of the Hangman, 24, the Queen of Wands, 47 of the 7 of Cups, the synchronicities in the heaven in your eyes, and then 79, which for me is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So the message on the code line was all about pride, and philanthropy was also coming up here. And the challenge card was the Queen of Pentacles reversed. So it was very interesting the way the code line was coming up today, and it unfolded for a long time for me today. So television, or your telepathic vision, or your heart connection, and seeing a flash or flash of lightning, also to shave. So it's referencing how sharp light is as compared to metal. And it was really funny because yesterday I saw my son shaving because I was knocking on the door to see if he was ready yet to do something, and he was shaving. So shaving is coming up for men anyway, so some of the masculines may be shaving off a beard. Then I have, and my son asked for a haircut yesterday, so it's been a while because he's just been kind of letting his hair get unruly. So that's a theme there. And also just with philanthropy, for you to say, like when you're being tackled by your sibling, I give up, I give. So also besides television coming up there, and this high vibe destiny of the crystal energy, perhaps doing that part-time, or perhaps doing physical therapy with crystals. Also Tel Aviv was coming up by the sea, all right, so by the sea. And the number 17, or the star, was coming up around it. The Queen of Pentacles, or the energy of crystals, or the eye of crystals, the surrender of crystals, and the PT, or being patient, the sky and the heavens, the pride. So it was referencing the eye, and again, the eye can be the third eye, it can be the eye of the storm, but it's coming up as the surrender here. The energy is the surrender of the crystals, or the crystalline energy, and the patience, the sky and the heavens of the pride. So this is coming up around Tel Aviv. And then, so GE came up as an acronym, and also PT, but GE is actually in Swedish to surrender, to give. So that was really cool. And it means eye as well, and sight, all those references. So PT comes up as Portuguese, so Portugal is coming up, and also point, part, or patient was coming up, and then the sky and heavens, which is actually the Egyptian meaning for PT, the sky and heavens. So I looked up Tel Aviv to see what was going on, which is the pictures were all coming up of Tel Aviv on the water, so Tel Aviv on the sea. And then the news article was Trump admits moving U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem was for I can't say it, evangelicals, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. So that was the message anyway. There was, taking his words out of context or whatever. But in other words, his meaning, and this was back in 2017, but the news was today. He was referencing the capital, moving the capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So in other words, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. But that was coming up in the news. And then at 11:11, television and the star of the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the I, or surrender, the I give, of crystals, being the philanthropist, okay? Being patient with the sky and the heavens, the point, the 0 point. And again, Portuguese were coming up, and the Portuguese are most well known for their Madeira wine as far as imports to Pennsylvania and the US. So Pennsylvania was coming up. So Portugal was coming up also, right, around the water. And then, so I looked up Portugal, or Portuguese, and an actress and cultural leader, Fernanda Lapa, dies at age 77. Also, Portuguese president helps rescue 2 women after a kayak was swept away by the currents at Algarve Beach. So going back to the code line, the television, using your telepathic or heart or any kind of connection that you have, your etheric connection, to see with your eyes, to see with this deep sea or emotions, the C of the Christ or unity consciousness, and the SI of the saying yes. To the light, to the flash of lightening up, to shave, right? That helps you lighten up. To cut your hair, it helps you lighten up. The destiny or the turn for the better of the I, to give, to surrender, to be the philanthropist, of crystals. So again, patient Portuguese, skies and heavens were coming up, and that, again, skies and heavens were the Egyptian meaning. So again, the meaning was coming up as the pride of Europe, the pride of the Middle East. We have Tel Aviv, and then we have Portugal, and then Egypt and Atlantis were coming up as well. So I was really getting that feeling that when I looked up Portugal, it's like, there's not much news there. It's because it's calm and peaceful, right? So it was like bringing it up as an example of how to be peaceful. And then television and the heart connect, and the numbers 6 and 7 were coming up. So 6 is also the lovers, and 7 is that flash of lightning, and the 10 of the high vibration of surrender and using your eyesight. But which eye? You're going to use your eye, your regular human eyes, or you're going to use your third eye. And then it was saying to give again, but instead of crystals, it was showing me to break it up into Christ and ALS. ALS, patient. So ALS is Lou Gehrig's disease. And it's also, it's very close to lupus and that kind of thing. And it's so funny that lupus came up, because lupus came up again later on in this read. So it's so funny how it came up. So it's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease. So nerve cells that control the muscles break down. The neuron messengers, send messages from the brain to the spine. And usually ALS patients die from respiratory failure from 3 to 5 years, but 10% of them last till 10 years. So 14 to 15,000 Americans have it. This was a 2016 reference. And it's common to get it around 55 to 75 years old, and it's more prevalent in men than women. Recognized as a service-connected disease by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And 5 to 10% is familial, but 90% is sporadic or all over the place. You know, you can't predict who's going to get it. And that was coming up from ninds.nih.gov. So, you know, you lose your chewing abilities, your walking abilities, your talking abilities, and it's progressive as opposed to lupus, which is flare-ups, as opposed to being a progressive disease that kills you within a short time period. And it affects mostly Caucasians and non-Hispanics was coming up. So as far as philanthropy, it was coming up as perhaps something you might want to consider donating to an ALS patient, someone with Lou Gehrig's disease. And maybe you want to donate your abilities to help heal these people, perhaps. That would be really crazy. That would be a really nice thing to do. But that was coming up. So ALS is a defect. There's a defect in the gene, the chromosome 9 open reading frame 72, and 72 came up yesterday, or C90RF72. So again, 72 has been coming up for me a lot the past couple weeks. And also related to atrophy of the frontal lobe causing dementia. There's also cases from gene mutation, of this gene mutation, that provide instruction for production of the enzyme of copper and zinc superoxide dismutase 1, SOD1. So some of the symptoms are twitches in the arm, leg, shoulder, or tongue, with muscle cramps, then tight and stiff muscles. This is the progression of it. And then muscle weakness in the arm, leg, neck, or diaphragm, slurred and nasal speech, and difficult chewing or swallowing. So EMG or NCS tests can help diagnose, but there's no real cure for it. And also HIV and T-cell leukemia, HTLV, and polio, as well as West Nile virus, can cause ALS-like symptoms. So lupus comes and goes, whereas ALS is progressive. And lupus you can detect by a rash, so it's like a face butterfly effect across the cheeks. So some of the things that came up online. Some of the stuff that came up online were rock hounding in PA, so a lot of crystal stuff was coming up. So looking for rocks in Pennsylvania. Quartz crystals, there's abundant fossils, a lot of quartz in Pennsylvania. Also jasper and agate were coming up too, and to dig by some of the streams. One of the places was McAdoo. Watch out for hunters there too. And Crystal Cave in Kutztown that you can pay to dig. And also in the southeast of the state, which is where Philadelphia is, there's a lot of petrified wood, and you can find fossils inside the petrified wood. The trilobites. So there's a couple different places came up. Mahatango Formation, also sandstone to crack them open to find fossils. Montour Fossil Pit in Danville, most common location, or Swarata Park. And then I was still getting the Christ and ALS. So I'm like, is there something else that I was supposed to get from that? So Christian ALS came up, which is a photographer director in London. And one of the pictures that came up on his website that came up was from Lars von Trier, Hits Back on 9/3/11. It's from the Independent magazine. It was a picture on the cover of the magazine. So he obviously was the photographer. But the quote on the front cover of the Independent magazine said, "If I am an idiot in the eyes of the world, so be it." So that was perfect. And then at 12:12, I was starting the code line again, and I just wrote TV, see flash of light. And the bird hit the front window. I can't tell you how many birds hit my front window today. It is not usual at all. I think I wrote it down. Yeah, this little bird. I'll go in sequence. But anyway, so at 12:12, I went to write the code line down again, and I wrote TV, see flash of light, and the bird hit the front room. So then I wrote down Crystal Point from Fandom, the Sailor Moon from Wiki. So it's a game, Crystal Power for Crystal Tokyo. In the 30th century, there's 9 points of the 5-pointed star with 4 crystals in the center. And then energymuse.com also came up, which has crystals. So that was at 1221. So that might be a plug for their website, energymuse.com. And then the little bird tapped my front window 3 times. Like he kept coming back into the window at 1220. 12 is the hangman, 20 is the judgment. And then after he hit my living room window, the one that you can see in front of you, tapped that window 3 times. I saw him do it the second 2 times. He then tapped the next room down window after that. That's never happened like where the bird like taps my windows that many times. He's like really trying to get in here. So I go back to the code line. It's 1221. The TV of the television or the telepathic vision or the heart connection through your cord or the etheric realms, and the flash of light like the little birdies, and that high vibration of destiny of the I and surrender or to give. But as I wrote down of I realized that from my Tetragrammaton, Feye was coming up, F-E-Y-E, which is F of the Phi, P-H-I, or the circle with the line drawing outside the lines, right? So the need to center again into the circle with the I, F-E-Y-E. And that was coming up as my Tetragrammaton. It's literally the E-Y-E. So the in my Tetragrammaton video, the Phoenician original version of the Tetragrammaton, it's written, looks like backward letters to us. So it looks like backward E's and a Y and a backward F, but it's actually a Z. But it looked like an F to me. So it literally comes up as I and then F, like Phi, but the other way around. F-E-Y-E. So my Tetragrammaton literally came up as the 2 capital E's in the square Hebrew reference look like pi, literally. So I made 2 pies as the symbols with the line through it, like pi, and then the Y was between them, because I always use the Y as the Y in the road is also the center of the Mercedes symbol, and then the 4th symbol was the Phi. So it's the circle with the line drawing outside the line, but with a little bit of a Y on top, because there was another symbol from the Hebrew, the square Hebrew interpretation. It was like the Y, except it was like a little comma instead. So I had pi, Y, pi, and then Phi with a mini Y on top. So when you have the 2 pies with the Y in the middle, it's literally the human face. It's the 2 eyes with the 3rd eye in the middle. And I put a little olive there in the Y, the martini glass, to show you that. And then the mini Y with the Phi energy. So it's literally referencing the 3 symbols as me, I am that I am. And then the 4th symbol is mini me, or me and my shadow. So Phi is me and my shadow, literally. And this is also to surrender. All right, so you see how the meanings all come back to themselves no matter what you do. It's so cool. So the high vibe destiny of the 0, or the human embodiment of source, and the Phi, the Tetragrammaton, to surrender, I give. The rainbow connection point, the brain to spine, because Phi is, I was asking, how does this relate to the pineal gland and the 4th eye, because that came up yesterday. And so when I was out on my run before I did this today, I was asking about the 4th eye and about Sophia as well. And boy, did I get messages. Don't ask for too much, because you'll certainly get your answers. So, so we have the rainbow connection, which always reminds me of the Muppets movie. Because my son loved the Muppet movies, and he would remember every word of all those movies. We used to love to watch them together. But the rainbow connection of not only the 4D rainbow bridge, but when I read the article yesterday, which I told you about the 4th eye, she was referencing the rainbow arc, which is the arc from the brain to the spine, or the 4th eye connection. So the rainbow connection was coming up here regarding the 4th eye. And then the point of pride, the stiff upper lip, where someone holds their head up, or in other words, Atlas, right? Because it's the top bone that holds your head. So the brain spine connection, I looked it up literally.com. So that site came up, was a chiropractor.com that referenced what is functional neurology. And then the brain stem links the spinal cord with 31 pairs of nerves. And there were some articles coming up there. They weren't all about that chiropractor. I just wrote down the title in case you were interested. But easy, INE articles came up. Brain, for the brain penis connection. And I'm bringing this up because it came up, but also, you know, if there's divine masculines out there who are having any issues, they were answering a lot of questions that people might have. So the hypothalamus, they reference it as the pearl beneath the thalamus, above the pituitary gland, and the gatekeeper of the pituitary hormones release of hunger, sleep, fatigue, temperature, the circadian rhythms, okay? So any trauma to head might cause issues with penile function, as well as malnutrition and radiation exposure, but not having to do with your functioning down there, but having to do with your hypothalamus. If it can damage your hypothalamus for overall health, they also showed a health cream, Man 1 or Man Oil. Both contain L-arginine, A-R-G-I-N-I-N-E, and L-carnitine, C-A-R-N-I-T-I-N-E. And then they referenced John Dugan, which is so funny because I knew a John Dugan, was referenced answering questions about penis issues on menshealthfirst.com. So that might be a site you might want to check out. So the gravityworks.com came up for body and balance tips. That's Gravity, just like gravity. And then works, though, is WERKS.com. So body and balance tips there. And that was referenced by the brain spine connection when I looked that up. Also, some Phoenix condominiums came up from when I put in Crystal Point, and a yacht club in Point Pleasant, New Jersey came up. Okay, so going into the atlas, the occipital bone came up. So the occipital bone is what connects to the spine. It's the only bone that connects to the spine. It basically, makes the opening in order to connect to the spine. So the top vertebrae, C1 and C2, are atlas and axis, right? The twins that stick together. The craniovertebral junction, the CVJ. The occipital bone is the only bone in the head that connects with the cervical spine. The opening, it's around the opening of the foramen magnum, which allows key nerves and vascular structures and the spinal cord to flow through. And this was spineaware.com. So then the medulla oblongata goes from it's not actually the pineal, it's the pituitary, from there to the spinal cord. And what connects the atlas to the skull is the atlanto-occipital joint. Notice the Atlantis reference there, atlanto-occipital, sorry about that, occipital, the joint, okay? So it's a pair of synovial joints there. And notice the reference to sin in synovial. That can reference sine wave, but also the sinner. The pair of synovial joints between the atlas and axis, or in other words, the twins. The pituitary is in front of the cord, next to the optic nerve, and the pineal is behind the spinal cord. There's 12 cranial nerves, and the optic nerve is number 2. The pineal, of course, releases melatonin and helps you with the circadian rhythm, referencing, how your body responds to day and nighttime and sleep and all that. So the Eye of Ra, of course, comes up because we're dealing with the pineal gland and the pituitary. So Eye of Ra comes up, and then when I wrote down Eye of Ra, I was getting eye of PA, because PA came up already. So it's literally eye of Pa. And then the extra line on the R is the northeast extension, because we have a northeast extension in PA. So it's literally coming up as PA and the northeast extension, which would be going to, what was coming up other than that? So the R literally would be taking it, the northeast extension literally references the position of the R tail, because it goes from the north and it goes east. It's so cool how this stuff comes up. So the pineal gland connects through the thoracic spinal cord. Did you know that? So the pituitary gland is more direct from in line with the spinal column, okay? So the optic channel, basically. So going from the spinal canal to the optic nerve is like a straight shot. And that's where the pituitary is linked up. But the pineal connects through the thoracic spinal cord. It literally drops down first and then connects over to the spine through the thoracic spinal cord, not the cervical spinal cord, which was very cool, because it was referencing the message they were giving me was that the pituitary gland has to do with the normal human eye, the brain, right? So the way we see things in what we deem as reality. Whereas the pineal gland connects through the thoracic spinal cord, which is the heart-based connection, the heart-based eye of the third eye, the heart and God. So they were showing me this, and then the Feye. So I was asking, is pituitary the Feye? Because the pineal is the pi. But they were saying, no, the pituitary is the 0 with no line in it, which is just the human of source embodiment, because that's your normal vision, being able to see with your eyes. Then we have the pineal of the pi, which is the circle with a line in it, meaning it's contained, it's centered, using your third eye. But the Feye was coming up as important here, the Feye, which is also PHI, but also, it could be Fi, no matter how you see it. The Feye, which is my Tetragrammaton, is the fourth eye, all right, the rainbow connection. The eye-heart connection, or the rainbow, because the fourth eye is connecting the pineal directly to the spinal column or the chakra system. The fourth eye, what they were telling me was the fourth eye opens when you are able to incorporate what you see with what you see through your eyes and what you know through your third eye, and to know the difference. And be wise enough to know the difference. Very cool. So that's about controlling things, right? To, control what you can control and let go of what you can't, and be wise enough to know the difference. So that's coming up here, and Spirit's connecting with me. So there's the connection between the pineal and the pituitary. And notice this, the pineal, pi, is centered and balanced, and thus it kneels. It's that loyal, humble servant. And the pituitary is the pi twit, awry. So it's the pi, the centered human that is the twit and has gone awry, in a twisted position. All right, this is how you can remember it: the pineal and the pi twit awry, the pituitary. So the Feye, Feye, or Feye, PHI, uses both me and mini-me. And then Philadelphia was coming up, because PA was coming up, but of course Feye is in Philadelphia, and I live in Philadelphia, I live outside Philadelphia. So, and all the stuff that's coming up now is from enm.wikipedia.org. So the pineal gland bypasses the mind by connecting to the spine through the thoracic spine, not the cervical spine, whereas the pituitary, it looks like it connects from the spinal column through the near the optic channel. So this was really cool. So in order to be able to open your fourth eye, you have to be wise enough to know the difference between what you see and what you know. you know, your human eyes and your third eye. So once you learn the difference and are able to deal with it and not feel like you're going insane anymore, then your fourth eye can connect. So it's connecting the pineal directly to the spinal column through like the rainbow arc, which she was describing. Is it Lisa Raphael? I'm trying to think of the website that I was on. She is Athena. That's her guide, Athena. So you can check that out if you want. It was a good article. So Feye uses both me and mini-me, which is my tetragrammaton that came up. And then we went to Philadelphia because Feye of Philadelphia, and then La, Delphi, A. So Feye, we know what that means. And then La means the, right? It's also la 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 la, singing. And it's also LA, City of Angels. But then Delphi came up, which of course is an ancient city. And then the A for me is the human embodiment of source with a tail on it, which is connection. So it's a human connection. So literally Delphi in Greek is Pytho, ancient sanctuary. It was also called Krisa, Krisa, which is like another way of saying Chris, Chris or Christ, right? This is another way of saying it, Kris, and then A on the end. So an ancient sanctuary, the oracle of Apollo, marked by Omphalos, or the navel, the Greek center of the world. So Delphi was considered the Greek center of the world. The god of light and knowledge or harmony, that's Apollo. And then it's described as the spur, and the spur just came up in my read the other day. I have a spur too, by the way. When I was doing gymnastics when I was young, my ligaments started popping up over a spur in my knee. So I know what it feels like to have a spur. But it's so cool, the spur came up the other day, and now this is being described. The spur known as Phaedriates, and I'm probably not saying it right, but that's okay. Zeus deemed it Delphi, or in other words, the center of his grandmother Earth. He sent 2 eagles flying from east and west extremities, and as their paths crossed over Delphi, it was then identified, Omphalos, the navel. Apollo was said to have slain Python, Draco's serpent or dragon, and then left them to protect the navel. So the dragon came up too today. So the dragon was there as the bodyguard of Delphi, the center of the world. So the Pan-Hellenic Sanctuary, and notice it was called Pan-Hellenic, Pan and Hell, Pan-Hellenic Sanctuary, every 4 years from 586 BC, the Pantheon Games were precursors, of course, to the modern Olympics, and of course there were 4 different Olympic Games back then. So it was one of 4, and it seemed that their Olympic Games were like second to Olympus Games. However, Olympus was only known for their Olympic Games, whereas Delphi had much more to offer. It was considered the center of the world, so it didn't really matter. And they incorporated music in their Olympics. Here, let me see where I wrote that. So Delphis also means womb. And Apollo, they said that Apollo came as a dolphin. And then at the Olympic ceremonies, they would use laurel, which is a bay tree, which was a sacred presentation. And then again, Olympus was only known for the Olympic Games, whereas Delphi had other good things about it. So the victors presented with a laurel crown. Stephanos came up, cut from tree by a boy who would then reenact Python's slaying. And Delphi was different than all the other Olympic Games because it used musical competitions, which is really cool. So what else was coming up about the third eye and the eye of Ra? I think I got everything. All right, so I was also getting, when I wrote down the eye of PA instead of the eye of Ra, and with the northeast extension, I was getting the divine feminine hookup. So that was pretty cool. So it was more than that because, you know, PA is coming up and now Philadelphia is coming up. And of course, there's another Philadelphia over there around Egypt and Greece. So at 2 o'clock, it now was. 2 is the high priestess and then double zeros of a lot of source backing it up. I was breaking down Philadelphia. Phi, La, Delphi, So the navel, center of the world, where 2 eagles cross paths and guarded by dragon. And Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love, or in other words, competition. All right, the Olympics. Okay, so, and it's not just about brotherly love and, you know, 2 guys being together. It has to do with, you know, what do brothers do when they're growing up? First thing they do is want to compete with each other. So the city of brotherly love and the Olympics, the navel or center of the world where 2 eagles cross paths and guarded by dragon. So this is Philadelphia. I live in Philadelphia. The 2 eagles. Well, the United States is the bald eagle, and Philadelphia has the Eagles team. So 2 eagles cross paths and are guarded by dragons. So what's the dragon connection? So Feye, or Feye, my Tetragrammaton that I was downloaded today, aka me and mini me, La Delphi, the center of the world where eagles mate in the U.S. and Philadelphia and are guarded by the Dragon Boat Association, the Olympics. And the race day that came up was October 2nd, 2021. Not this year, but next year, October to 2021, which adds up to 17, which the star came up as the challenge card today. Or not the challenge, but the what's coming up. So so that was referencing the Olympics. So Olympia and Delphi, and now they're referencing Philadelphia as the dragon boat race, the competition, and then Chinatown as well, because it's based in that energy. So it's so funny because the advertisement for race day, October 2nd, 2021 for the Dragon Boat Association was, it's wet, it's wild, it's an experience your team will never forget. The dragon racing dates back over 2,000 years. Notice the 2,000 years goes back to Christ. And the Chinese legend of Ku Yuan, Y-U-A-N, Q1, or Q-U1, literally. So the name literally transcribes to me as Q1. The Chinese legend Ku Yuan, the advisor to the king who was exiled from ancient state of Chu, C-H-U, which is my son's nickname, after advice to the king was misinterpreted as an attempt to assume greater political power. And by the way, this is coming up from Philadelphia DragonBoatFestival.com. Fest, or just fest.com, I think. So also Dragon Rouge was coming up because it was partnering with Philadelphia Cream Cheese, and they're a branding and packaging agency since 1984, Dragon Rouge. So they look like they're doing advertising for Philadelphia Cream Cheese. And then the news from Softpedic.com, Dragon Age, Inquisition, Dev, D-E-V, praises the darkness. The Last of Us for relationships, but US was coming up there for us. Last of US for relationships. Learned a lot from 2 games about making meaningful friendships. So here we're talking about Olympic Games, like having different Olympic Games. Yeah, you have some friendly competition, but you get to meet some nice people along the way. And that was something that came up from August 20th, 14. And so after all this Olympic Games stuff, and then Philadelphia and PA, let the games begin. So we start with Ascension with this read, and I'm going to show you first I'm going to show you what I brought up in my video today. All right, so this was first I wanted to show you this too, because this is before, I meant to show this on my video, but I forgot. So this is the 2 8th notes that become the 16th notes, but it's also referencing the pi, okay? And then here was the linear and sine references that I talked about this week. Here's the Mercedes symbol with the Y, and the X being the red light, and then the yellow then becomes the sine wave, right, of the yellow light, right, being between, slowing down. And this was just a symbol that came up for frequency and vibration. The F and the V together here with the triangle, and triangulum comes up for me with that as well. So, and again, I want you to notice in the eyes that this is pi and the second one is phi, and it's in a pi formation with the two lines, and then it's also 2 eighth notes, but also then becoming 2 16th notes, which is the tower energy, going from the 2 8 notes, the twins dancing, the 8 and the 8 side by side, going into the 16th note, the tower. Okay. And so I wanted you to have that information, and then my Tetragrammaton, which you can watch that video on this, but I just wanted to show you the shot. All right, so this is my Tetragrammaton down here with the 2 pies as the eyes and the nose between with the third eye. And then over here is the mini-me, me and mini-me. This is the phi with the little y on top. Okay, so you can watch my video as to the explanation for that. But I want to show you the read for today. Oh, did I even take it? It's on my, I don't have it on my iPhone right now. I'll post the main one, but I'll show you these cards when I'm finished the read, and I'll post the basic read for you since I don't have it available right now. So we started with the Ascension card here. Okay, this is the Ascension card, and the clarifier is on top. Ascension card with the 2 of Pentacles reversed, the Page of Wands upright, the Guidance card reversed, and the 7 of Cups reversed beneath it. So the World reversed after or just upside down, after the dropping of the ball, tripping up, dropping the facade, the act, the pretense, to break patterns, inspired to alternative beliefs, and dumping emotional attachments that no longer serve. Surrender, to give, the Philanthropist. Philanthropy. So then they're sending me in another direction. Here's another Phi word, the Philanthropist. Phi, la, entropy. So I put in entropy to get the formal definition, and it went in wrong. It went in E without the N, and then trophy. So jaguar came up, which has been coming up because jaguar is orb. I think, is it orb? Orb. Yeah, I think orb is it means orphan or blind. And here we're talking about eyes and sight. So it means jaguar and an Old English inn. That was orb. So, so jaguar came up with 1 pack E trophy. I'm sorry, it's 1 pace, PACE, and then E trophy. And this is coming up for FIA formula E, which that E was very much like the Phoenician interpretation of the Tetragrammaton. But this is the first electric cars for race cars was coming up, the Jaguar. So then entropy I put in again, which is a measure basically, and this was from Merriam-Webster, and just paraphrasing, a measure of disorder or loss of energy owned by state, unavailable energy in a closed thermodynamic system that varies directly with reversible change in heat and inversely with temperature of the system, equals the degree of the disorder or the randomness. And that was coming up with ALS, that it's very random. And it was taking me to blood pressure, the systolic pressure over the diastolic pressure, right? So the diastolic is your underlying blood pressure, and then the systolic pressure is all over the place. So it's random use of energy over fixed use of energy. It's the loss of life force and how to minimize loss, burn your body, or put it on ice. Put it on the back burner, which is less hot, and save. So, of course, ice saves and ice saves and preserves, but perversity may be coming up for some reason around this. but fire burns, right? You can't reverse once you've been burned to ashes, but you can reverse if you've been frozen to death, right? You can then thaw the body out. Now, I don't know what they can do with that these days, but that's the idea behind entropy. Thinking smarter, not harder. Working smarter, not harder. So philanthropy, me and mini-me, the Phi, P-H-I. So me and mini-me are my shadow. And then la entropy, the loss of energy or light, less than my light. Or in other words, philanthropy. It is easy to give, not as easy to receive. When we can't return the gift, but that is pride. Pay it forward in other ways. Don't worry about it now. If we all give, then we all receive. But giving must come from an open heart, not from being forced or guilted or manipulated. And that was at 250, which is the High Priestess, and the 10 of Cups, emotional fulfillment and happiness for all. So it's saying don't worry about the equalness of the give and take at any given moment. It's having faith in other people and yourself as the collective, as you connect with the collective consciousness, that we can all give to each other. If we all give, then all will receive as well. It can't work any other way. So there's let the games begin. At 251, 51 is the King of Swords, the world upside down, not ascending when at battle or war, defensive end, stance, or status. The 10 of Pentacles guarded. That 10 of Pentacles, family, business, or community of wealth, is guarded in order to move into peace, setting boundaries. A bouncer determines who gets in. Old money family not allowing the newbies in. Competitions between Democrats and Republicans, present to the gift of the moment. The Queen of Pentacles reversed may not agree with her 10 of Pentacles family, and she's now left out, scammed, in debt or inequity, and maybe they're not helping her. And yet the Page of Cups, without much to offer, offers their loving cup to her. A message of peace and love, seen as the hippie generation. 258, the High Priestess and the Four of Swords, irresponsible, hobos, drug addicts, and sex maniacs. The Queen of Pentacles reversed is put on guard by family or kicked out because they didn't agree with their boundaries, their moat. And the Page of Cups can't swim. The Queen of Swords upright, speaking about sudden events, drama, and epiphanies of the Emperor reversed, and the Queen of Wands upright. Not sleeping and rising above, or awake now and coming out, dumping a load, a burden, a responsibility, or confessing. The Magician embodiment of the Page of Pentacles. The DNA of the child, student with potential to make their parents proud, choosing Akashic Records review, to look closely at the shadow, the earth, the globe, the past, or go to the ball, to open the gateway to the crystalline ball, the crystal ball, Gaia. So this was bringing up the past, looking into the past, and for me, when I was young, I hated history. But literally, that's what we were doing. We were being forced to go back in history to learn about our wounds. But it was very hard for me to take in history. No matter how much I studied and tried to memorize it, I couldn't. And it's not that I couldn't memorize things, I just couldn't memorize history. So that was coming up here about the Akashic Records review and having children review their past to face their shadows. And then the Magician and their assistant to learn the tools of the trade. Lay all your cards out on the table. Show your hand, expose your truth. 7 roses on your rosary. Ho'oponopono, letting your toes breathe for a change. Take off your shoes and breathe some fresh air. Or in other words, summer camp. So some may be going away to summer camp right now. Richard Simmons, Michael Jackson, and Merlin all rolled into one joint. Atlanto-occipital joint. The capital of Atlantis, OC. O being the human and C being the Christ or the unity consciousness. The human in unity consciousness. The capital of Atlantis. The Atlanto-occipital joint. A pair of synovial sinners. The Atlas Meridians. The Atlas of Shiatsu came up, was a book online. And then the human body meridians were coming up, the energy lines of the world. So for the world, the actual physical world, and the human body as well. So getting to know your meridians, your energy lines, which come from the pineal gland. So 9-7-17, the prime meridian at is 0 longitude, halfway, where the world is cut in half. That's the longitude line. And it's the base for which other things are measured, just like we were talking about as far as the blood pressure and entropy. So it is the base for which other things are measured, perpendicular to the equator at 0 point. That's the horizontal line. So the atlas has one joint, but that lady in the world has two. One penis and two ovaries equals co-creation when dealing in DNA strands. And then this came up at 333. So it's funny because the magician has one DNA strand in their hand, and the world card has the girl with the two DNA strands in her hand. She's got two and he's got one. So this was literally coming up as that. But the magician was being referenced as Atlas because Atlas carries the head on their shoulders. They can make magic because they have the pineal gland. But so why does the lady in the world have two? The magician wants to know. The one penis and the two ovaries, co-creation when dealing in DNA strands. 333, someone may be in chemo or likes to cover their head or went to a head shrinker. And I was getting Beetlejuice with the head shrinker. I don't know if you remember him, the guy waiting with a really little head. Or someone went to their head shrinker in hopes of decreasing their brain capacity to get their mind out of the way. At 337 is the Empress and the 37 of the King of Cups. Impatient fallen angel, or losing patience, or no longer patient, or Sagittarius reversed in need of sunshine, or with crazy or sick kids, or Leo. Implementing a plan to tame or cage the beast, perhaps grooming the pet, or housing them to go on vacation. Getting to know each other, and beneath that was attraction for the divine masculines, closing the distance gap, or no longer living together, but someone won't wake up. Teen princess or rising star, or all dressed up with nowhere to go. One lover dumped or gone, and one child left, or one home feeling sorry for themselves. Two in an all-business relationship, where the female is mad watching something while the male is humored by the same thing. Rose bushes pulled, or Rose's bush a thorn in his side. Dream girl versus business partner, news at 6 and 11, the Page of Pentacles star, or missing someone who waxes his chest, the spa girl, or maybe that was his myrrh oil girl, or mother and child competing for attention. Synchronicities came up with number 87, and beneath that was spiritual career, which is 78, and they're the reflections of each other, synchronicities and spiritual career. The world reversed in split, lies, and cutting through the crap, or the divine feminine in the 5D removing their own damn sword from their heart. The worst is over, implementing a plan, finding a peaceful place at night, or with Cancer. Synchronicities, options, heaven in their eyes, twinkle, twinkle, little star, sharing, philanthropic, or settling out and working on details with Michael's mouse and Charlotte's web, or studying the Talmud, or good Jewish boy or rabbi getting the next sermon ready, or preparing for bar or bat mitzvah or work presentation. Doves may be released, ivy overgrown or drowned by the rain, or watery presentation, or a glass bridge across water, like in a ceremony. Settling out, trying to make it work, putting in late night hours expected by the family, to always be the giver where others take. Grubby little hands reaching up, more angry by the second, all sorts of things bubbling up in that brain of yours, lasers, sparkle and drama, rainbows, or trying to figure out how to pay something forward. Working world, upside down, choosing path of least resistance, of being pacified or pacifying the beast with lots of petting but no sex, and synchronicities of serendipities or serendipitous proportions at 401 to 402, which is the emperor going from the magician to the high priestess. The recent past is the Ten of Wands reversed, dumping a load, burden, responsibility, or confessing the Page of Pentacles to the King of Pentacles reversed, perhaps with issues at work, perhaps a child or student offering help, or an intern getting on your nerves, or receiving an invite that you're not interested in. The workplace burden or confession, or closing doors with clarity of the Two of Cups reversed and disconnect and not seeing eye to eye, or that two are just at a distance. The Queen of Wands with hermit, advisor, doctor, or other professional or wise old man, detoxing foolish behavior, or confessing falling for the Queen of Cups. At present, at 407, the Emperor and the Chariot, the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or legacy or community, purging, crying, overwhelmed, dumped in the dumps, or losing fluids, or have a pool with a leak or a bridge with a leak, near death, post-death, or dark night and never-ending story. The foundation is the Nine of Swords upright, suffering in silence, stressed, up nights, purging, headaches, with a judgment, announcement, wake-up call, or rebirth. The music calming him. The King of Swords offering their time, money, and effort, or a new life, or giving a big donation without expectation of something in return. Grieving, loss, regret, past failure, and negative attention or bad news, or neediness of attention, or doing it under the radar or under the table. Surrender suddenly to sudden event, drama, epiphanies, or orgasm. Grief weighing on the King of Swords' shoulders while under the radar trying to make retribution, perhaps. The center energy here is the Ten of Pentacles in disconnect from Atlas or burden. The Queen of Wands getting advice, or hermit shedding light on the situation of detox, chaos, and lack of faith, and surrendering suddenly to the Queen of Cups upright. I just whistled. Then maybe someone might be trying to whistle at the Queen of Cups. Surrendering suddenly to the Queen of Cups upright, focused on their heart space. The Knight of Pentacles offering help, money, and effort, or friendship to the King of Wands, or perhaps a loaner car if their car went kaput. Or the King of Wands upright, stuck in chaos and overwhelmed, or with Cancer reverse crying, or trip or move was canceled. Too overwhelming, and the Sovereign upright is aligning with inspiration and unity consciousness, or getting their ducks in a row, or just working, or the Divine Masculine is overwhelmed by Independent, who's always looking over his shoulder at work. The challenge being the Queen of Pentacles reversed. Another whistle almost came at 422. Whistle while you work. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. So 422 is the Emperor and the Fool. So again, there may literally be someone following you around at work who you think is a fool and is getting on your nerves. And as I said, oh my God, because another bird hit the window, but now it was a bigger bird hit the front window at 422. The Queen of Pentacles reversed and the Hierophant reversed. Break in contract, divorce, or break in societal norms. So it hit the window. At home, or Taurus reversed, ungrounded, or lost money, or is just really spendy. The Queen of Swords upright, speaking at night, or the Queen of Swords upright is a Cancer person. Uncomfortable, Aquarius, or uncomfortable with healing, dreaming, stardom, healer and dream girl, or not knowing where someone goes at night. The Messenger of Truth, or the Knight of Swords, is rushing back with news or a message about the past. The Knight of Cups offering love to the High Priestess, the secret, or about their intuitive abilities, grounding and integrating the King of Pentacles reversed, where the worst is over in bliss at night, with the Empress reversed, or under the radar with the King of Cups reversed, or feeling like a failure, and crying or stressed at night, drained, sick, or overexposed to defensive warrior or fighting Cancer. Now is the Knight of Pentacles in the present moment, the humble, loyal servant of grieving family, holding back feelings, but unhappily so, on journey of proposal or good news or goodwill. an announcement about the Page of Swords reversed child or negative message or gossip or rumors at work, breaking a contract and or dropping the facade or divorcing and breaking patterns, proposing to fall into the arms of bliss, the Knight of Pentacles and Knight of Cups, secret crush, dumping emotional attachments and choosing a new path, defenseless to the energies of bliss at 439, which is the Emperor and the Knight of Cups. In reunion, so surrendering to bliss in reunion, implementing a new path with the Hermit upright and the Empress reversed, perhaps an ill parent or someone in lack consciousness. The Hermit missing their flame, alternative or divorced under the radar, or with Taurus reversed, or old man who's sick, holding on, saving, grounding, the Knight of Wands reversed, player who fell short, or is falling short, or is holding back their desires at home, or about a house or union. The injustice of a breakup, or no lover, or no affection. Libra reversed and Taurus reversed, nightmare, with negative or no attention, or under radar, King of Cups reversed, unavailable emotionally, or heartbroken, or in separation and in need of sunshine, and is broke. Or Cancer reversed and Leo reversed, can't face defensive Cancer, or one on the warpath, or is fighting Cancer. Aries reversed, Pisces upright, Aquarius upright, and Cancer upright and reversed. So it could be two different Cancers there. Taurus reversed times 2, Sagittarius reversed, Libra reversed, Gemini reversed, Virgo upright, and Leo reversed, all here. Soon for the masculine is the Star, Egypt, a healer, dream come true, handing out after work, or heading out after work, seeing new perspectives, awakening and rising, doing meditations, or can't sleep but because you're so tired, clinging to exile, destiny, injury, or illness, or in the downturn in customers with COVID, detoxing chaos with no school in session. Capricorn upright or reversed, or Pisces upright, Scorpio reversed, and Libra reversed. Never-ending story of people being turned away. He sees himself as the Ace of Cups reversed, purging and inspired by anxiety or hostage or muse, or amused when partner is mad at them, not getting along, or amused when you don't react and they're about to blow their stack. Coming clean, getting clean, or cleaning up the act, on a quest and in the pursuit of happiness. Let your friends help, and it is safe to love. And new love come up here for the Divine Masculine. Around him, or how he's seen, is the Four of Pentacles upright, the Divine Masculine's heart in the Batcave, separation of the King of Cups reversed, bored, and grounding and integrating, reunion with the Knight of Cups being love, or the Divine Masculine is the Knight of Cups and not liking the King of Cups reversed, bringing him down to his level. The block here for the masculine is the Knight of Swords, sending 5D messages. Happy family, happy ending, or Libra reversed, but everyone else is fulfilled, receiving passion in a message, and then passing it on or paying it forward to the family, or is up to bat and ready to take a swing. Pride comes up, but even more so for the masculine is change, no longer putting up with unwanted affection, with fallen angel, or impatient Sagittarius with attitude, drinker, or potion maker. The Emperor reversed, or reason reversed, being unreasonable. The Emperor reversed, sick, or with Cancer, or up nights, and or out of control, trying to block him from using the car, or fighting with him on every step, perpetual chaos. With Aries reversed, Cancer reversed, Taurus reversed, Gemini reversed, Leo reversed, Sagittarius reversed. Obviously, no one's happy here. And someone literally may be sick and they're trying to do things they shouldn't be doing. The King of Wands upright, shaman, or 70s child, making magic for the Empress reversed, or only one who can calm him down. So the King of Wands, shaman, is coming up as the only one who can get the old man to do what they're supposed to do, right? 507 is the Hierophant and the Chariot. Definitely could be about the car, like, you know, the person who's not allowed to drive anymore, trying to get the keys and drive the car, and you have to like block them from leaving or block the door. Virgo or and this could be someone with Alzheimer's or dementia as well. Virgo or Gemini upright, Taurus reversed and Aries reversed, and the King of Wands awake and coming out in surrender to bliss with the High Priestess secret or abilities, or Pisces or Virgo. The World reversed or not ascending, and the Nine of Swords upright, suffering in silence, purging the Divine Masculine in the Batcave, dumping a load or dumping their responsibilities, or confessing to family, the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or community, and challenged by the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the Star, or Aquarius, or dream come true, with the Messenger of Truth, or 5D messages, with the Knight of Pentacles, and the Emperor reversed, out of control, or in ego death. The King of Wands not sleeping, or awakened and coming out in surrender to the bliss state, now that the worst is over. Pisces, or divine feminine, or the world upside down, dumping a load, their burdens and responsibilities, or confessing and working to align. Suffering in silence, the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or community, and challenged by the Queen of Pentacles reversed, and the Knight of Pentacles upright. Purging, overwhelmed, dumped, or in the dumps, healing and shining their light on dreams come true. The Divine Masculine's heart in the Batcave, sending 5D messages without the Emperor reverse knowing, or him, the Emperor reverse, stepping down. To the King of Wands shaman, awake and coming out in surrender to bliss and his abilities, and or the High Priestess, or secret, at 517, which is the Hierophant in 17, is now 110, almost 111. It was at 56, so 1 and 10 are the Magician again and the Wheel of Fortune. So we end on the Hierophant and the Star, and I went out to run, and on my run I was asking about the fourth eye to see if any messages would come, and I was asking about Sophia as well, because I am in Sophia energy and Mary Magdalene energy, but I get direct messages more from like Thoth and Metatron energies. So I was kind of asking about that differentiation. And so I got back from my run and I plopped down on the sofa at 5:54, right before 5:55. And I plopped on the sofa, and I underlined sofa here, and that comes up again as well, to meditate for some more information about Sophia and the fourth eye. And I saw myself when I was young doing gymnastics, doing back bends and cartwheels to limber up my body. But my mind was still racing too much from my run, and I was too scattered. So instead I looked up Lord Sophia again online to see if something new might come up. And I usually spell Sophia with PH. So since nothing new came up, I put in Lord Sophia with an F. And Sophia from Wikipedia.com or .org came up. So I said, okay, what the heck, I'll check it out. So wow. So here's another message. So Sophia is in Bulgaria. And the actual Bulgarian language, which has a reversed N and a reversed R, which we just talked about, the R in the Pa and the northeast extension, and the middle letters F, which is the Feye, the circle with the line through it, and also C and O. So that's the Bulgarian word is C-O, Pi, or Feye rather, and then the backwards N and the backwards R. That's the word for Sophia. So Sophia in Bulgaria is the capital and the largest city. The eponymous valley at the foot of Vitosha mountain in the west. I'm sorry if I say the names wrong. I'm not very good with language. West of the Iskar River, with many mineral springs in the center of the Balkans, and its midway point between the Black Sea and the Adriatic Sea, and is closest to the Aegean Sea. So there have been humans there since about 7000 BC, and they started from the Celtic tribe, however you want to say it, or the Serdi, S-E-R-D-I. 809, Serdia incorporated into the Bulgaria Empire by Khan Krum, K-H-A-N and then K-R-U-M. And that's where they were called the Shredets. I don't know how they pronounce it, if it's Shredé or... But it literally means middle, the Shredets. So it's in the middle of the two seas. So in 447, Sophia, it wasn't called Sophia back then, it was destroyed by the Huns and then rebuilt. So 1018 to 1194 was the Byzantine period where they got defeated. And then they were reborn as the Bulgarian Empire again. In 1382 came the Ottomans. They were a key province, though, at that time. 1878 became Bulgaria again, restored a third time. And then Sofia, the capital of the third Bulgarian state, in 1879. That's when Sofia, the S-O-F-I-A name, became official, 1879. And it's funny, we're talking about Sophia, and 79 is the year I graduated from high school. And here 1879 came up again. And also it's the 13th largest city in the Euro Union. So here Union comes up. All right, so surrounded by the mountains, Vitosha, Llewellyn, and Bolca to the north, which makes it the second highest after Madrid, the city is described as, get this, the triangle of religious tolerance. 3 temples of 3 world major religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, all situated in one square. And again, the 4 in the square with the 4th eye were coming up, but the square was coming up from something else as well. So here's the square and the triangle together. Really cool. And I'm not even going to try to tell you the name of the church, but there's a church there, and then the Bayabash Mosque, and then the synagogue is literally named Sophia. The 10 best places for startup businesses in the world is Sophia, especially for technology. And so the inner city is 1.24 million. With the burbs, I think it was 154 million. And then the the metropolitan area is 1.67 million. And the town includes Dragon Man. So Dragon came up today. So here's Dragon Man, a city that's near Sofia. And then another city I wrote down was Radomir, because it has rad for radiology and IR in it as well at the end, with Om in the middle. So bringing in the Om into radiology and IR, because when I spoke on behalf of my father after he died at the the IR conference, I wanted to incorporate I'm blanking out. I'm sorry. I have a concussion, so sometimes I just blank out on normal words. So I wanted to incorporate Reiki into my speech to them, because of a radiology conference for IR. So I actually brought Reiki into my speech for my father. So here, the name of the city is Rad Om IR. So that was really cool. So the different names for Sophia were Serdica, from the tribe of Serdi, S-E-R-D-I, and it could be a Thracian name or Celtic. So Thracian is Thracian, and that can literally be from Thrax, which is the god Ares. So it's literally either his son or Ares. So they're either from Celtic or Thracian, however you pronounce it, or a mixed background from there. So Marcus Ulpius Traianus, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but Marcus Ulpius, he was 53 to 117 after death, gave the city the combination name Ulpia Serdica, and Ulpia is a derivative from the Umbrian cognate of Latin word lupus. So here lupus comes up again, which means wolf. And I didn't know that. So here's lupus again and the wolf, or it could be the Latin vulpes, which is the fox. But either way, it has to do with smarts, right? Because the wolf is known for intelligence and their strong instincts. And they're loyal, and they're about connection and communication from where did I write them down? So that was from spiritualanimal.info and also lonerwolf.com. So other names were Sardanapalus and then Triaditsa, which literally means Trinity in Greek. So it's been called Trinity, the triangle of religious tolerance. It's been called the wolf. Actually, Surd means cold, and then the wolf, so cold wolf. So a really cold, intelligent place. So that's like the king of swords. And then lupus is the wolf. So a cold wolf. So some of the other names that were mentioned by Greek sources or coins, I don't know if that meant Kohans or not, because coins is another spelling of Kohan, but Atralisa, so A-T-R-A with Lisa, by the Arab traveler Idrisi, and then Strelisa, S-T-R-E Lisa, and then Strelitsa Zion by Crusaders. So Sophia literally means wisdom in Greek. And the Ottomans favored the spelling S-O-F-Y-A, so Sophia. So we go back to the word Sophia, and it was taking me back to Feye, F-E-Y-E, my Tetragrammaton. And Sophia is literally Phi, with so in front of it, and A on the other side of it. So Phi, like so fly. So Phi, and then A, which is the human embodiment connection. So it's literally saying, like it's the feminine Phi. So Phi, A, Sophia. So Phi, connection. And Phi is the I am that I am. The so I am that I am connection. The me and mini me. So this is really cool. So Sophie, S-O-F-I, also means sofa or couch, which also means scholar or philosopher, like, the wise one, but it also means to sleep. So literally, Sophia means to sleep and connect, which is meditation. So cool. So then I was getting Fee, Fi, Fo, Fee, F-I, Sophia, Phi, P-H-I, I am that I am, and then Fo was the shadow, and then doing the meditation, I smell the blood of an Englishman. So they're always messing with me about that. Anyway, the Englishman, my married name, Stainthorpe, is English. I do have English in my blood, but it's not fully English. But they're always calling, me the Englishman because I have English in my name. But it's a reference for me, just like any other code. So that might be referencing England as well, because England dates, we had dated that back, 14, I don't know how many years it was, but England obviously has some of the oldest relics. So it's very important regarding this awakening process. England is very important there. And so obviously the Celtic energy is there too. So remember that Fee, Fi, Fo, Phi being, F-I is Sophia, right? So, Phi, A is the connection. The 0 is a human. The tail is a connection. So, Sophia, connection. Phi is the Tetragrammaton, the I am that I am. And then the Fo of the shadow. And then the to meditate through that. I smell the blood of an Englishman. So if anything else comes up about that stuff, please let me know. I know this is really long, but it was really cool stuff. I'm definitely going to pull you a card to sum this up. Also, the cards, I didn't reference the cards that are up behind the love sign. So we have the King of Wands, we have the Ace of Wands, we have the 8 of Cups walking away, and that's coming up as walking away to a higher love with the Temperance card there, and then the 2 of Cups there. So in the read, the 2 of Cups is not seeing eye to eye. It was reversed or at a distance. That can be not face to face, meaning 2 people are just at a distance so they can't see each other. The King of Wands was upright, and so was the Ace of Wands. So it's like the paying it forward energy and the walking away to a higher love. It's a really nice message there. So what is the main energy or the takeaway from this read, please? The broken heart. Number 9 is the Hermit, right? The way to expand the heart is to crack it wide open. And there's the juice, the tear, the tears, the water coming out of the Ace of Cups reversed, right? Purging it out. With victory. And there are the leaves being presented at the Olympics at Sophia, or Delphi rather. Either one. So Delphi is the reference to the competition in the Olympics with Philadelphia, and then Sophia went in another direction. So we have the 28 of the Twin Flames and the 9 of the Hermit, right? Which is also endings and being alone. But there is victory in this, in purging all of your wounds And they're saying, congratulations. This is graduation time. You don't understand. Lionsgate is graduation every year. So you're literally being shown that you have graduated from another stage of cracking open your heart and expanding and purging out the old wounds. The bottom of the deck is the second chakra, Archangel Ariel. We did talk about the second chakra because that's the sacral chakra, and about the penis and the ovaries. That came up, and 36 is also Atlas, the 10 of Wands, the weight of the world upon your shoulders, and using your creativity to make it less work, working smarter, not harder. So this is the takeaway from the read. So again, that it's saying that you've done a great job, keep going. And these two cards were coming out to be seen too. So adjacent possibilities with the 24 of the Queen of Wands, and then the 15 of the shadow side of appreciation, paying it forward, right? So if you can't repay someone directly, you can always pay it forward. There's always an alternative route. And then this is taking me back to the root of the pineal gland being not direct to the spine, but going down first and then over to the thoracic spine. So there's always another way of going, okay? So really cool messages. I have to show you this read, so let me unplug here so I can actually show you. Hold on. I gotta take my plug out of here. A little caught up here. Sorry if you see my mess under the table. When I injured my back, I made this like my spot where I could do everything without having to get up too much. So we have here, all right, you have the underlying energy of ascension, and then we have the 10 of flames reversed there. That's that Atlas card there underneath. I'm trying to get it more focused for you. So there we go. All right, and then we have the foundation. There's the 9 of orbs. And then the central card is that 10 of pentacles upright. The challenge being the Queen of Pentacles reversed. The other underlying energies with the Knight of Pentacles upright. And then going across the 40 bridge, or the 40 or the rainbow arc today. Coming to the star. And then the masculine sees himself as the Ace of Cups reversed today. But doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, because that can be purging. So around the masculine, how I've seen the 4 of crystals, which is like the bat cave. And then we have the Knight of Orbs there, or Knight of Swords, as the block for the masculine. And then we end up with the Pride and Change there. And the Emperor reversed is at the end there with the Knight of Wands above him, the 4 of Swords, the Wounded Warrior in surrender, to the 10 of Swords reverse, which is the Bliss. And then the High Priestess there at the end. And you see those extra cards there on synchronicities as well, and the colors of the underlying energy. All right. All right, so I hope that was helpful to you. It was a major day today. Make sure you drink your water, get your rest. It just turned 28. Make sure you get your rest and your joy in your nature. And as always, rise and be love. I love you guys. Bye. Thanks for listening. Bye.